So we know that those toxic embers, they are still out there. They have not gone away. They are still capable of engendering poisonous doubt, the kind of doubt that holds people back from fully embracing the peace process. Though it has to be said that in the wake of Massereen and Craigavon, one of the most remarkable things for anybody who was involved in peace building will have been to watch the solidarity and the consensus that they evoked, how people stood together right across all those previous borders, all those previous divisions. They stood solidly together. So our challenge is to keep on peacemaking, peace building. It's not made any easier, of course, by the climate, the economic climate that we face, because I'm very conscious that so often the most estranged from the peace process are the people who are also estranged from what we might call the peace dividend, from prosperity and opportunity. And that's also something that I think in Dennis's company, in the company of Dennis Rooney, the chair of the International Fund, that I have to say the International Fund has always understood that too, that not only do you have to work at the level of community, but in particular you really have to forensically penetrate those communities which are and feel most left out, most overlooked, most neglected, because those are the communities where people feel not respected. And in feeling not respected, there you have those embers, those toxic embers of doubt, distrust, anger and frustration. People left alone to talk among themselves. It's a dangerous space if the only people you talk to are people who utterly, absolutely agree with you, and agree with you in anger. And so the International Fund has helped to harness new energy and new hope in those communities, and to try and turn the tide of wasteful negativity, to put at the heart of those communities a new resource that will help them to be positive, optimistic, and to take their place in the peace process, at the head of the peace process, which is the place they truly, rightfully should be. So, again, we offer very good thanks, Dennis, through you, to the people who are the funders, to the fund's donors, to the United States, the European Union, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, all these people who are, people who care about strangers. They are people who don't have to care tuppence about us. Let's face it. They have plenty of worries of their own. They have plenty of concerns of their own. But their good taxpayers' money is invested in our lives, in our hopes and in our futures. And through your work, I think you honour and respect their sacrifice and their generosity. It would be a terrible thing, wouldn't it, if in their giving, if we took that all for granted and we didn't respond by testing and challenging and stretching ourselves. So the work that you do through the New Border Generation, in real terms, is just helping that new culture, that tiny plant, and that's really what it is at the moment. It's a spring plant. It's still young, it's still in its early stages of growth, but the great news is that it's growing very rapidly, and it's growing strong, and it's growing robust thanks to your help. Important to remember that we are still only in the opening chapters we're in this cusp moment as we change from one over to the other. And the dead weight of history has a remarkable capacity to drag us back if we are not vigilant, if we allow the momentum to relax, which is why I think it's important that you keep gathering, and then on a day like this, on your 10th anniversary, you meet again to keep these conversations going, to keep these projects going. So can I thank you for the work that you commit to. We keep needing champions, advocates, at every age and in every space, in every aspect of our lives. We need people who are champions of peace and reconciliation, people who are comfortable in this work, or people who are prepared to make themselves uncomfortable in order to promote peace. And you have been so blessed here in the quality of the people who have committed over these 10 years to the work that you have done. Can I say a very big thank you to each and every one of you, to those who have done the work, to congratulate the board of New Border Generation. I hope, please goodness, that in days to come, the generations who grew up the physical borders, the political borders, will be young people who will have grown up in a culture of really fresh and vibrant and dynamic good neighbourliness, so that to them the border would not be a place of fear, a place of estrangement, but rather a place of easy bridges, bridges between human beings who know each other well, like each other, accept each other's differences, accept each other's different perspectives, politics and persuasions, but enjoy each other's company and have a long history by then of working well in partnership. And then the interesting thing happens. If we look back at history, we know what conflict delivers, and it's not a very exciting landscape. It's the landscape that has been described by John Hewitt as the century's arrears. To put it another way, it's a gigantic big hole that, a lot of people invested a lot of time in digging. Now our job is to fill in that gigantic big hole. And I think we're doing a reasonably good job of that. We're doing a reasonably good job of filling it in. But, of course, what we haven't done yet is we haven't got to the top. We have not yet arrived at a situation where that hole is now so well filled in that we are standing at the top looking at a whole new landscape that for many, many generations historically we're never able to see. So embedded, so deeply down in that hole were they. But with your help, some of these days there will be a generation, and that generation will stand on that landscape. I'd like to think it was sooner rather than later, but I just don't know. We're not there yet. Some generation is going to be standing on that landscape, and they're going to see things very differently, because they're going to have a much, much, much broader and much longer and much farther horizon. They're going to be able to aim for shores much further than we have been able to do, because we've been in this rather tight space. But that's what history has called on us to do, to fill in the arrears, to fill in that gigantic hole. And please God, some of the younger people who are here, they'll be the people who will stand on the new landscape. And the ground underneath them will be rock solid. It won't be ground that will give way. We'll have filled it in well. With your help, we'll have filled it in well. And please God, then, their chance will come to deal with that new landscape, a much healthier, much happier, much more harmonious landscape. And then, for the first time ever on this island, ever, we will have revealed to us, or our grandchildren or our great-grandchildren will have revealed to them, what happens when people work together. What happens when all the energies, all the genius, all the initiative, all the energy, all the ambition is working with each other, for each other, through each other, for a shared future. What happens? We know what happens when the opposite happens, when people do not do that. That's the border to the past. But the border to the future, the one we have to get over, the building of this, the filling in of this hole, the getting up to that new landscape, that offers so much potential, so much hope to our young people that we really need, I think we should be full of excitement and enthusiasm, wanting to fill in this awful hole of history's making the quickest we can to get to that new landscape, to see what can we achieve with these new energies harnessed. And I know that's the ambition you have here. And I want to thank you for the way in which you honour and keep faithful to that ambition, and have done through 10 years, which were not always so easy. We're not always so easy. But hopefully, as time goes on and we get nearer that landscape, sooner or later our heads are going to bob across the top. We're going to, before we stand on it, we'll actually see it. We won't see all of it, but we'll see bits of it. And I'd like to think that maybe we're just beginning to get excited about the potential for that landscape. So thank you so much indeed for being here, for asking me to be here on your 10th anniversary. Have a great birthday party. It's nice to be invited to a 10th birthday party. I don't get invited to so many of them these days, so it's nice to be at a 10th birthday party, and in one of the most beautiful and magnificent and historic parts of Ireland, where the welcome, no matter how old the place gets, the welcome is never tired. Gur míle maith agaibh.